Hello and welcome again to Barley's World, Manchester 1968. On today's show, we do something slightly different. Instead of me talking about my books and self-publishing and playing a track, I thought we'd do something different right now, which is give you a bit of a history lesson on a building which is very important to me. It's my old secondary school called Nicholls Ardwick in Ardwick. So I thought for something different, every now and again just to change things up a little bit, I'll do some history on certain things in Manchester. Could be buildings, could be people, could be fashion, could be architecture, like I said earlier on. But today I've chose my secondary school, Nicholls Ardwick, and we'll just basically just do a little bit of a reading about what Nicholls Ardwick was and is. And then we'll just take it from there basically. So this is going to be about Nicholls campus of City College, the former Nicholls Hospital. So here we go, hope you enjoy. The rather magnificent Gothic building on the corner of Hyde Road and Devonshire Street in Ardwick is the former Nicholls Hospital. It was designed by the architect Thomas Worthington and built in 1879. Worthington was a son of a Salford cotton merchant active in the Unitarian Church. He was articled as an architect to Henry Bowman and set up his own practice in Manchester in 1849. I went to school in Ardwick, a stone's throw away from his Nicholls Hospital, and I remember it being an ominous black building that seemed to loom over 1950s Hyde Road. Today, it can be seen in all its colourful glory. Worthington competed for the actual design of Manchester Town Hall, losing out to Waterhouse, but he left behind some fine Gothic buildings, including the Law Courts on Minchell Street and the Albert Memorial. Nicholls Hospital was founded by the bequest of Alderman Benjamin Nicholls, mill owner, as a memorial of his son John Ashton Nicholls. A plaque inside the building declares that John Nicholls was dedicated to who had the improvement of the humbler classes deeply at his heart and laboured earnestly to promote it, and whose mother testified in her interest in the object of his institution by a supplementary bequest. Bit of a mouthful. John Aston Nicholls had died in 1859. Benjamin Nicholls became the mayor of Manchester in 1887. Outside the building of Nicholls, there are more memorials. In 1952, under the Charitable Trust Act, the Minister of Education made schemes for the Nicholls Hospital Foundation and for the Chetham's Hospital School Foundation, by which the Nicholls Hospital School was no longer to be carried on as such, and the boys were to be transferred to Chetham's Hospital School. The Nicholls building was rented by the Education Committee and later purchased in 1953, I do apologise, to be used as a county secondary school for boys. This was the first change of direction for the building. Originally playing space with some form of hard surface area for football was available at the back of the school, bordering up to Ardwick Cemetery, but this was taken over by extensions to the old building. The Ardwick Cemetery itself, covering about 5 acres, had been opened in 1838 when there was no local authority cemeteries. By 1950, all further burials were prohibited, and the cemetery was transferred to the corporation, which was empowered to use the land for school playing fields or as an open space. A record of this inscription on the tombstones was deposited with the Register General, and a copy placed in the local history library of the Central Library. The burial registers were handed over into the custody of the town clerk. It was decided to develop the land as a playing field for Nicholls Secondary School, which, according to a brochure published at the time, thus became the first secondary school in the inner area of the city to be extended to bring its accommodation up to modern standards and to have a playing field on its own site. The work was carried out in 1963-64 and cost £18,275. In 1967, Nicholls County Secondary School combined with Ardwick Secondary Girls' School and Ardwick Technical High School to become the Nicholls Ardwick High School. All three schools were located in close proximity. Excuse me. The new school began its life on the 1st of September 1967, using all three buildings known as H Building, former Technical High School, A Building, Ardwick Girls, and N Building, Nicholls Secondary Boys. The Nicholls building became an administrative centre of the school. Later, buildings H and A were demolished, and the school moved onto a single site. There was another name change along the way when it was named in honour of a former pupil of Ardwick Higher Grade School, the precursor of Ardwick Technical High, Ellen Wilkinson. Ellen Wilkinson entered Ardwick Higher Grade School in 1902, the daughter of Richard and Ellen Wilkinson of 41 Coral Street in Chilton upon Medlock. Ellen was diminutive redhead. As an adult, she was only 4 foot 10 inches tall, but she became known as Red Ellen, and she had a formidable personality. Ellen, with her mother and her brothers and Richard and Harold, were a very close-knit family. Clearly evident is the fiery red hair that became her trademark. She inherited it from her maternal grandmother, who had red hair long enough so that she could sit on it. Ellen had ambitions to grow her hair long too, but unfortunately, she got tired of the idea and cut it. In 1906, Ellen won a £25 pupil teaching bursary, which enabled her to attend the Manchester Day Training College on Princess Street in central Manchester. She attended the college for half of the week and in the other half taught at the Oswald Road Elementary School. In 1910, Ellen became a student at Manchester University, where she developed her interest in social and politics. A plaque in her honour was placed in the quad of the old university buildings. In 1912, she joined the National Union of Women's Suffrage Societies, later becoming a district organiser. She also ran the local branch of the Fabian Society. At the age of 24, she was the women's organiser of the Cooperative Employees, eventually gaining preeminence within NUDAR, a shop workers' union. After being active in the women's suffrage movement, she was elected as Labour MP of Middlesbrough East in 1924. Identified with the far left, in fact, Wilkinson was involved with various forms of Labour movement activism. I do apologise. She was a tough character and resilient to jibes as both an orator and hardened union negotiator. She lost her seat in 1931. In 1935, she was elected MP for Jarrow, a seat she held until her death in 1947. In 1936, she was one of the leaders of the Jarrow March. In 1940, Ellen was appointed Parliamentary Secretary Minister of Pensions and Joint Parliamentary Secretary of Ministry of Home Secretary from 1940 to 1945. In 1945, she became Minister of Education. So it was appropriate that this Ardwick school should be named after this prominent lady, Ellen Wilkinson. However, once again, the winds of change were blowing in Manchester in 2000, when Ellen Wilkinson was merged with Spurley Hay to create a new school called Cedar Mount, located in Gorton. Excuse me. Today, the Nicholls Hospital building is the Nicholls campus of Manchester City College. It is the base for sports academies in football, rugby, cricket and basketball. The college offers excellent sports facilities, including a football centre with a full-size grass pitch and synthetic five-a-side pitches, a sports hall and a fully equipped gym. The campus is also equipped with IT suites, science labs and a learning resource centre, a canteen and a student common room. And just to finish, the Nicholls Hospital building is now 132 years old. Wow! But it seems to have found a way of reinventing itself for succeeding generations. There we go. There's just a brief history of my secondary school, or my former secondary school, Nicholls Ardwick. I enjoyed that. Some of them words were a bit of a mouthful, but I do apologise for any errors. So again, there's the first history lesson out of the way. There'll be plenty more of these lessons on various subjects, people, throughout the coming weeks, so look out for them. Again, the usual. Any comments below, please, thank you. And anyone subscribe to his channel, much appreciated. And I think that's it for now, so we'll wrap it up from there. Again, thank you for taking time out to come to my site. I know you've got other things you want to be doing, so if you two can come to my site, I appreciate that. And until we hear it again, I'll see you on the other side. Sweet.